So salute to Cenat, one of the biggest, youngest content creators, streamers on the literal planet. Um, you know, definitely, if you know anything about streaming, Twitch, content creators, you know him. And if you don't, now you do. So, like I said, they're a streamer, very popular, and they're known for doing some very basically and this is obviously no slight, but they're basically like a young black Mr. Beast. Challenges, lifestyle, things of that nature. And they the reason why I give them props, because if you actually look at some of the content, it may not be for you if you're a bit older or you're not really into a lot of screaming and young boy energy. But the reason why I give him a lot of props and salute is, one, he's he managed to obtain a large one of the larger audiences, and two, when you look at some of his like stream times, like this brother, sometimes you look at it, this brother would just stream for like 10 hours. It's on a regular day. And that's, to me, we'd be doing this podcast for, once it gets to like 3 hours, I'm like, all right, let's start wrapping it up. So yeah, they're a streamer, super popular, and they're known for, pushing the boundaries and doing some unique things, challenges and things of that nature. A lot of gaming as well. And they also been like doing a lot of streams with a lot of rappers recently and artists. So also you gotta give them props for that. So, but recently they've been getting a little backlash. Let's just give you a little background if you don't know. But again, you probably do know. Recently they've been getting a little backlash. So recently they did a 7-day IRL. I guess stream is always IRL, but in prison stream or in jail. And I was actually watching this. Like I was tuned in because it was entertaining. So yeah, they did a 7-day. Usually when people do a consistent stream or constant stream, they call it a subathon. I don't know if this was actually a subathon, but it was 7 days, no breaks, no stops. Had the cameras rolling, and they were in jail. And when I say they, it wasn't just him. It was him. He brought a bunch of people in. I think some of them were actually people that used to be in prison. He had some of his friends, and it was, again, it was kind of lit in there. Like I know, like Ben the Don made an appearance. Drewski, RDC, his crew at AMP, Krishan Rock showed up apparently at some point, and just some other people. And again, it was definitely an entertaining time. But also a point of it was, also a part of the point of it was to like actually have that experience of being in jail. So like I said, he got some backlash because some people saw this and they weren't entertained. They actually looked at this as like he's glorifying being in prison, because while if you listen to them, and we'll play the video in a second, they were trying to get that experience of jail. There was a lot of times where it was lit. They were playing games. There was a bunch of guests. They were having a ball in there sometimes. But and we might actually, well, first let's hear what they had to say afterwards. But we might actually pull up a quick stream, a video, to show you what it looked like if you had no idea what the jail stream looked like. But let's hear what they had to say about the aftermath first. This is about to be loud, ain't it?
Oh my God. Yeah, I should have given a volume warning.
If you can hear us, volume warning coming. And he's loud. He's loud too.
Fox! Little niggas was going based off the motherfucking clips and saying what they had to say about it. But were you there when we did a whole, where I literally got the kids of the community, the baddest kids of the community, to come to the jail? We actually sat down and spoke to them niggas. Or you didn't see that, right? Or 1,000 times where I said, yo, this is not cool. I don't want to be here. I don't like being here. This is why you shouldn't want to be here. Oh, you didn't see that, right? Or me waking up at 6 a.m. shivering out my sleep, back hurt, eating whack-ass food, saying this is why you don't want to be here. Oh, you didn't see that, right? Oh, but you've seen all the other clips that went viral. And then you're going to say I glorified it, right? My nigga, if you ask me, I was moving from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., my nigga. I was moving like a fucking robot. I probably wasn't showing it, but me mentally, I was going fucking crazy, nigga. There's clips of me just doing the dumbest shit and doing the dumbest shit because I don't know what else to do in that bitch. You only walk and talk in that bitch.
Yeah.
Was one clip not enough?
You gotta get the full context. Go ahead.
20 minutes cold showers, nigga. And if your fucking child or somebody that you know watch that motherfucker and pick up their phone and one day say, "Oh my God, jail looks fun. I want to go." You're doing a bad job at parenting. You wanna know why? One, why the nigga watching me? And two, why the fuck would he even think that shit? And three, your fucking kid is dumb as shit, nigga. The fuck?
Well, there you have it. Again, apologies for the volume. In post, if you again want to go back and listen to our individual topics, the volume will be adjusted. And we're still working on some things here. Like the biggest claimer is this is gonna be some real choppy stuff. But enough of excuses. We're not here to make excuses. So, like he kind of broke it down. It's like while some people, he's getting backlash and saying he glorified jail. If you were actually in the midst of it, there were definitely a lot of times where he wasn't necessarily having the most pleasant time as either. You have to adhere to get the full experience. You have to adhere to the times of when you'd be in jail. I mean, getting up early, being active all day. You can't just be there napping. And if anybody's seen a show, or I don't really know what it is, but people kept referencing 60 Days In. It was essentially like that, like recreating the experience of jail. And we might pull up a clip of it real quick. But the moral of the story is, like most people when they're getting backlash, he has defense of, like at the end of the day, it wasn't all fun and games. He was there to get that experience of jail, which he did. And it was, even though he was only there for 7 days, it did start to impact his mental state, which I can imagine. Like, it's one thing to just be in a confined space for a while, but imagine if you, like, in theory, can't leave. And you in theory can't like do anything. You don't necessarily have phones or people to interact with on the outside world. You're just confined to that. I can imagine even in that like more playful version of jail where you're with some of your homies and things of that nature, you can start to like impact. It can start to impact your mentality on a negative level. So that was just that. But what this really addresses, or what this really comes down to, is people claiming that somebody doing something is glorification of something. And that's something we've talked about before. I feel as if it's going to be a recurring topic. It's just that conversation of what it means to glorify something. People say that about hip-hop music. People say that about movies. And I'm kind of sticking to, black and brown culture. But I'm pretty sure this can be expanded out to other genres of music or other movies. I'm pretty sure back in the day, we're probably saying some things about, not Soprano. What's the movie? Scarface. In like mob and mafia related movies, I bet you could argue people say that's a glorification of that type of lifestyle. So it's definitely applicable to all genres and different cultures. But even though this could probably branch out to be its own podcast subject that requires a whole podcast in itself, I just want to know real quick what's your idea on what it means to glorify something. And I mean, not that I want to focus too much on this, brother, but just based off this, do you think, and based off what you might have seen, do you think it fits the criteria of glorifying? We'll start with you, Ace. What is glorifying something to mean to you?
So, I think this definition is gonna make my answer not make sense about the jail thing, but I feel like glorifying means you're making something, whether it's positive or negative, you're making it seem like it's something you should aspire to, or something you should want to do, or some behavior you should want to emulate. Like it's just taking, like I said, taking something and making it something you want to aspire to, be like, whatever. So yeah, I think that would be my definition. But with that definition, I think it's hard to look at any one particular thing and be like, well, did this glorify it, or did this just present like an accurate portrayal of said thing. And you'd also have to consider like the purpose of it too. Like, does it seem like the purpose of this thing is to just to shine a light on whatever topic it is about, or is it to, you know, explain something or to present some type of idea, or is it solely to, again, like make it seem like a good thing, or, you know. So yeah, and then if we take that definition and apply it to this particular situation, you could, like, I feel like you could say there was an aspect of glorifying it because like, I don't know, it's like, I saw some of the stream. I don't feel like people are having as much fun as it looked like they were having in some parts of the stream. And if that means that he didn't display an accurate portrayal of what it's like to be in jail, then saying that those aspects glorified jail, I think, could be considered a valid argument. But then again, you know, what he's mentioning, it's not to be written off. Like, if he felt like he experienced why you wouldn't want to be in jail and he voiced it as well, then you did have like, as opposed to glorification, an accurate representation of the environment, and again, why you wouldn't want to be in that environment, which would not classify as, you know, would not qualify as glorification. So I don't know, maybe it's not a black and white thing. Maybe there is some truth to both sides of the opinion.
Yeah, because even in that, I'm sure you acknowledge that there's a level of relativity to that, like in the sense that one person can consume content and be more inclined to want to aspire to be like that thing, but another person could look at that and be like, "Oh snap, I don't want to be a part of that lifestyle at all."
Yep, that's true.
Got you. What about you, Ghost? What does glorifying mean to you?
I more or less agree with Ace. To me, it comes down to the way something's being portrayed. If you're purposely like simplifying it or not highlighting the negative aspects of it or highlighting the positive aspects in a way that's disingenuous, then I think that's enough to call it glorification. It's kind of tough because it can be subjective. Like, if one kid, I'll use kids for example because they're the most impressionable. So one kid watches Cenat stream, thinks it's entertainment, thinks nothing of it. One kid watches a stream, thinks, "Oh, that looks awful, I don't want to go to jail, blah, blah, blah." One kid watches it and thinks, "Oh, some of the stuff in there looks fun, and jail maybe isn't that bad," or I wouldn't go as far as say he wants to go to jail, but you never know with kids. I think it kind of comes down to how the person that's watching it interprets it, which isn't really fair. So it should really boil down to, when it's being portrayed, it should be portrayed accurately. And if that's interpreted in a way that's maybe not, if it's interpreted positively when it's really shouldn't be, then that's one thing. But you shouldn't go out of your way to present something that's not really truthful to real life. And again, it's tough because it's like certain things like jails and like gangs are portrayed as like the worst things in the world, and you can make the argument they are, and you can make the argument that there's some things that maybe the media portrays as worse than they actually are in real life. And it's tough. As long as it's portrayed accurately, I guess that's what it really comes down to for me. And in this case, I don't know. Again, it's tough because I think if we're going by that definition, you could make the argument that he is glorifying it because I saw some clips of it and I didn't even know it was from the stream. I didn't know like the full context, but I saw some clips of like some things like dudes going around in a circle dapping and have the sound, and it's like I didn't know that was from a jail stream. I just thought I wasn't paying too much attention. I just thought the dudes were having fun or whatever, and some of the clips that went viral, if you didn't know anything about the situation, if you just saw, oh, they're in jumpsuits, they may be in jail, but it looks like they're having a blast, you don't get the full context of what he's talking about, like the negative aspects of it, but the positive aspects are kind of what's been circulated and what people are seeing.
Yeah.
So it's not really his fault necessarily, but if that's what is coming across, that's a disingenuous interpretation of what jail is really like, and some impressionable kid may or may not see that and think, oh, that's cool, which I'm not putting all the blame on him, but I think to an extent, if you're doing something like this and it's for content, it's for entertainment purposes, jail's not for entertainment. Like, that's kind of what it boils down to. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And not to throw shade on him, because I don't think he meant anything negative by it, but yeah, I've seen a lot of clips and a lot of it was goofy. And
Well, I mean, a couple of things you kind of mentioned it, but I kind of like the way how you brought up the fact that it's like aspects to it. Like, I think what it boils down to it is like, I mean, and he kind of said the same sentiment, is if you look at, you know, some of the clips, maybe even if it's a majority of the clips, like there was a lot of instances where they were having like a ton of fun. Like, it's literally your homies that are there. It's not just a bunch of random people. It's a lot of his friends that were there. Unlike real prison, where you're probably there alone, or now you have to click up with people that are like in similar situations. But if you look at the totality of it, yeah, like you're saying, like, because like the stream was running for 7 days straight. So again, the times where he's taking apparently cold showers, the times where he's waking up early and he's eating gross food, you may have not seen that stuff unless you were actually watching the entirety of it. So you could look at this and say there were definitely some aspects of it that were glorifying the situation, and then there are some aspects that were maybe like, you know, akin to reality or what the situation would look like. So I think it does help if you look at the thing as like aspects of it is glorification instead of assigning that to the entire body of what happened. And I think that's also reflective of like music, because again, this is something that you heavily hear talk about when it comes to hip hop and things of that nature. Not all hip hop, but like specifically like, you know, more street gang related hip hop, where like for it could even be the majority of the song, they're talking like, this is the lifestyle that not only I lived, that I like living, I like having my gang around me, I like going on a drill and all these things of that nature. And then, you know, maybe at the end of the record, they'll be like, you know, but I'm doing this, or I've done that, so you know, nobody else will have to do it, or like, you know, I've did it and now I'm giving back, or I'm ceasing violence or doing certain things. So I guess like another question could be like, if the majority of it, quote unquote, is leaning towards like glorifying it in a negative light, or I guess it's always in a negative light. If it's portrayed specifically only like a negative light, would you then look at that and just say like, okay, they glorified it and they did a net negative?
It's, I don't know, for some reason it feels kind of different with music. To an extent, yeah, I think that's accurate. A lot of the times when dudes are making music like that, they'll basically say that I'm built for this and I'm living the life. I did this, either I did this or I'm currently doing this, and I got ahead, but all of y'all ain't built like this, and if you try to come up on me, then you gonna get this, and that. So it's, I don't want to say it's accurate, but it's kind of true to life, but it is painting it in a positive-esque mindset where you're not necessarily telling other people to do it because they can't do it like you, but you are saying that if you can do it like me, then this is the life you'll live. So I don't know. I'm leaning more towards glorification, to be honest.
Got you. What about you? What about you, Ace? do you go based off like a majority rules type of thing, where if it's a lot with more negative than positive, you would classify it all as glorification, or you would still kind of differentiate based off the respective aspects of it?
I guess if I was thinking about it in this context, yes, it would be a majority type thing. But I don't think about this often. And one thing to consider is like, if I don't like some, a song or something like that from an artist, I'm not digging through their whole discography to see if all of their songs are, glorifying, say it's a rapper glorifying violence or whatever. Like, I'm not doing that. It's just, I'm not going to listen to the artist anymore. And I think more so than thinking about whether they're glorifying some aspect of, a negative lifestyle or not, I'm just at the point where it's like, do I like the song or not? I don't really expend the effort of trying to think about, necessarily how good or bad the things they're talking about are. It's just, does the music sound good or not? Because again, like I've talked about this before, there's certain music where, yeah, it's not talking about the best stuff, but when I'm working out or something like that, it's something that I need. It's the type of music I need to hear to get me in the mindset to, push myself. So, and if somebody else heard it, they'd be like, out of context, they'd be like, why are you listening to this? But it makes sense in certain contexts. So again, like for me, I'm just at the point where, do I like the music or not? It's not really too much critical thinking about what it's glorifying or, how bad or good it is. Just, do I like it?
Yeah, no, I get that. And to be honest, probably the vast majority of people are like that. Like they just look at it like, hey, is this good? Do I like it? Do I jive with it? To some aspect, can I relate to it or not? Yeah, even though these are big discussions, I wouldn't say it's the majority of people that are piling on and like going on this. Oh, you're glorifying tirade. And obviously, this has been a conversation that's been long standing. Again, it's been happening in like black and brown culture and other genres and cultures. It's probably going to continue to happen. And we might look at these situations case by case, but yeah, I mean, I think in general, if you want some more of the stories, one, at the end of the day, you are responsible for what you consume or for what people that you're responsible for consume. So if you do take, unlike what Ace was saying, if you do take these things into consideration and give them a lot of thought, then but you're gonna have to be more mindful with the content that's being presented, because it might fit your your standard of what's being glorified or not. And two, at the end of the day, it does help to look at things in aspects sometimes instead of assigning an entire like standard to the entire thing. Because if you could probably take any piece of art, any not act, but performance that a person does, and if you look at the entirety of it, like the entire stream, for example, you'll probably find some aspects of it like, dang, this person is showcasing what it looks like to really be in the trenches or in jail or whatever the respective thing may be. But yeah, I also say salute to Kai. Definitely entertaining. Sometimes.
Yeah, I did want to say too that regardless of the perception, I am in favor of, or I do look positively on what he did overall. Just I believe that his intention was to portray, give somewhat of an accurate portrayal of what it's like to be in jail. And even though, again, there were aspects where you could question whether it was glorifying or not, I do commend him for making the effort.
I actually like that you brought that up, because I was gonna say, I almost forgot. Obviously, we've never been to jail. All praises, but if you see some of these clips that floating around, and the fact that there are clips is even a question in itself, there are individuals out there that are in jail serving real life sentence, real life and real long sentences, and they make the best of it, and they do have a enjoyable time. I don't know how they be getting phones in the prison, how they be getting food in the prison, how they be getting MP3s or whatever devices they be using. But sometimes if you are in there with the right folks and you're in there trying to make the best of the situation, you will have a good as almost as good much time as they were having during history. Just saying. But unless there's anything else, we can move on to the next topic.
Just one comment. It's from Andre. I just cannot see for the life of me how anyone could think going to jail could be fun or cool. I can understand that from our perspective, but I think kids, like, you can't really put it past them what type of stuff they could be influenced to think is cool. Like, I mean, you got kids who, want to get into gangs and things like that just because of a perception that they have that is not reality. And if they only see certain aspects, kids can be inclined to want to do anything. So I think that's pretty much, I think that's it. And I think that's why the criticism would be levied against this, which is not unreasonable in my mind.
Hey man, if you got young kids, you gotta be mindful. Which, as we all have younger siblings, is not necessarily the easiest thing, but you gotta be mindful of the things that they're consuming. But salute to you, Ace, for making sure we catch everything. But yeah, there's nothing else. We can move on to the next.